Have you ever found yourself wondering if there's something greater guiding your steps amid the constant turbulence of life? I know I have. There are days when the noise of the world feels overwhelming, when every headline, every conversation, even every quiet moment seems charged with uncertainty, fear, or confusion. I remember sitting alone one evening, overwhelmed by the chaos that had seeped into every part of my life, from personal challenges to global events, and I asked myself, how can I possibly keep my faith when everything seems to be falling apart? That question, raw and full of uncertainty, led me on a journey of reflection and growth that ultimately reconnected me to a powerful truth found in God's Word. I'd like to share with you a verse that has been a beacon of light through many storms. It comes from the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. At first glance, these words might appear simple, a straightforward command to be brave, but when you allow them to seep into your heart and mind, they reveal an enduring promise of companionship and strength. In this verse, God is reminding us that no matter how daunting our personal struggles or the external chaos may seem, we are never alone. His presence is constant, ready to uplift us whenever we stumble or feel lost. When I first encountered Joshua 1:9, I was facing a season of profound uncertainty. My life was at a crossroads. Personal doubts crept in, and the rapid pace of change around me made me feel out of control. I felt like a tiny boat caught in a stormy sea, tossed around by waves too powerful to manage. It was in that moment of vulnerability that these words reached me. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. In those few short sentences, I found the reassurance that my fear was not a sign of weakness, but rather an invitation to lean on a strength far greater than my own. God was not asking me to suppress my feelings or ignore the challenges. He was inviting me to find courage not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of His guidance. The message here is both simple and profound. It tells us that strength and courage are not the result of our own efforts alone. They flow from a trust in a higher power who promises to be with us in every situation. Imagine a parent holding the hand of a small child as they take their first steps. The world beyond is vast and uncertain, but the child's trust in their parent transforms each step into an act of bravery. In a similar way, God's promise serves as a reminder that we, as His children, do not walk alone. Every challenge, every moment of doubt is met with His steadfast companionship. This doesn't mean that our problems vanish magically or that we are instantly freed from difficulties. Rather, it means we have a partner who shares our burdens and strengthens our resolve. For many of us, especially in our youth, when life's uncertainties feel particularly intense, this promise is like a warm embrace that reassures us we are safe, valued, and capable of facing whatever comes our way. I recall a time not long ago when I was grappling with a series of setbacks, whether it was academic pressures, the weight of family expectations, or the relentless quest to find my own place in a world that often seemed indifferent. I felt like I was constantly being pulled in different directions. The modern world bombards us with conflicting messages about who we are supposed to be and how we should live our lives. And in that struggle, doubts inevitably arose. I wondered, is it possible to hold on to my faith when the world around me appears so broken, so cynical, so lost in its pursuit of superficial things? It was during one particularly challenging week that I sat down with my Bible, seeking solace in the quiet space of my room. As I turned to Joshua 1:9, the words seemed to leap off the page. In that silent moment, I wasn't just reading an ancient command. I was being spoken to directly by God. I felt as if each word was imbued with a personal promise, a gentle reminder that my journey, however rocky, was watched over by a loving presence who cared deeply about my well-being. This verse, in its beautiful simplicity, taught me that faith is not about having all the answers or never feeling afraid. It's about embracing the unknown with a heart full of trust. Even when the world feels chaotic and filled with uncertainty, we have a constant in our lives, a source of strength and hope that remains unshaken. Each time I've recalled this promise, I've discovered reserves of courage that I didn't know existed. It's like walking through a storm with a light shining in the darkness. Even if the path is unclear or perilous, The light guides you forward, assuring you that you will not lose your way. That light is the presence of God, and his promise to stand with us is as fresh today as it was thousands of years ago when those words were first spoken to Joshua. Over time, I began to see how this verse has woven itself into the fabric of my everyday experiences. There were moments when I felt overwhelmed by responsibilities or when the weight of expectations made it difficult to breathe. In such moments, I would pause, take a deep breath, and remind myself, be strong and courageous. It became a quiet mantra, a steady pulse in the midst of chaos that helped center my thoughts and realign my focus. I recognize that courage doesn't always manifest as grand, heroic deeds. Sometimes it simply means continuing to move forward despite the fear, speaking up for what is right, or even just showing kindness when it feels like no one else is paying attention. Faith, then, is not an abstract concept reserved for quiet church pews. It's a living, breathing force that fuels our actions and shapes our lives in every small, everyday moment. Perhaps what I find most comforting about this promise is its invitation to vulnerability. We often think that being strong means never showing our doubts or fears. But the truth is, acknowledging our vulnerabilities is precisely what allows us to experience God's strength. When we admit, I'm scared, or I'm not sure if I can do this, we are opening the door for divine support to flow into our lives. I vividly remember a time when I was facing a critical turning point, an important decision that would influence the trajectory of my future, and I was riddled with uncertainty. Instead of pretending that everything was fine, I embraced my fear and sat with it. I prayed, I meditated on God's words, and I sought the counsel of trusted friends who also held on to their faith. Slowly, step by step, I began to see that the very act of confronting my doubts was an act of courage in itself. That experience taught me that true strength is found not in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to face that fear with an open heart, knowing that God's presence is there to guide us through every trial. It's important for us, especially as young people trying to carve out our identity in a complex world, to recognize that the challenges we face are not signs of failure or weakness. They are opportunities, chances for us to learn, grow, and deepen our relationship with God. Every setback carries with it an invitation to trust more fully in the divine plan. When things don't go as expected, it can be tempting to retreat into a shell of pessimism or to let anger and frustration take root. But if we listen closely enough, we may hear a gentle reminder echoing from within our hearts, a call to be resilient, to find hope even in the darkest times, and to lean on the enduring promise that we are never alone on this journey. I've often thought about how many of us are searching for stability in a world that seems to value rapid change over lasting truth. Social media bombards us with images of perfection and success, while the real struggles of everyday life are often hidden behind filtered snapshots and curated stories. It's easy to feel inadequate or isolated when you compare your inner reality with these glossy representations of other people's lives. But the message of Joshua 1:9 cuts through that superficiality. It tells us that our value does not depend on the fleeting trends or the opinions of others, but on the timeless truth that God's love and support are available to each one of us. This truth provides a solid foundation on which to build our lives, a foundation that does not shake with the winds of change or the roar of uncertainty. I have learned that maintaining faith in a chaotic world is both a daily commitment and a continuous learning process. It means making small, intentional choices every day to trust, to believe, and to act out of love rather than fear. There are mornings when the sheer weight of the world could easily pull me under. Yet in those moments, I recall that divine promise and find the strength to rise again. Every time I overcome a moment of doubt, every time I extend kindness despite feeling hurt, every time I persevere even when the odds seem insurmountable, I am reminded of that steadfast command: to be strong and courageous. The verse has become a living reminder, no matter how unpredictable life may be, I have a partner who walks beside me, offering comfort, direction, and unwavering support. In reflecting on these experiences, I realize that the journey of faith is as much about discovering who we are as it is about understanding who God is. It's about finding that intersection where human vulnerability meets divine strength, a place where we learn to let go of the illusion of self-sufficiency and instead embrace the beauty of interdependence with a loving Creator. When I share my experiences with friends, family, or even strangers, I see how these moments of vulnerability often become the starting point for genuine connections and heartfelt conversations. It is in these shared stories that we come to understand that while we may all face different challenges, we are united by our common need for hope, reassurance, and guidance. So, as you navigate your own unique challenges, I invite you to pause and reflect on these words. Let the promise of God's everlasting support sink deep into your heart. Allow yourself the freedom to be vulnerable and to express your fears, knowing that doing so does not diminish your strength. It only makes space for that divine strength to lift you up even higher. In the midst of our fast-paced, unpredictable lives, every reminder of God's promise is a lifeline, a beacon of hope urging us to step forward with confidence and grace. Before we close today, I want to leave you with a final thought. Our lives are not defined by the chaos that surrounds us or the challenges we face, but by the enduring love and support that flows from our relationship with God. Every difficulty is an opportunity to practice trust, every setback a chance to rely on a strength that comes from beyond ourselves. In a world that often seems devoid of certainty, this promise offers us a steady, unchanging truth that we can hold on to no matter what. Remember that you are seen, you are cherished, and you are never alone. Let that truth inspire you to carry on with courage, even when the journey gets tough. Thank you for taking the time to listen and share in this reflection. If these words have touched your heart or inspired you in any small way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need this reminder of hope, and leave a comment below with your own thoughts or simply with "Amen" as a sign of your faith. Your engagement not only strengthens our community, but also serves as a powerful testimony of how God's love continues to work among us every single day. May you walk forward into your day with renewed strength and courage, confident in the promise that wherever you go, God is by your side, guiding your steps and lighting your way.